Can you kill a man when you have to? Yes, I can. If there's no ref, the ref doesn't stop it, I'm not stopping.
He's got excellent jiu-jitsu skills. He tapped out an entire black belt Gracie team one after the other. He's got knockout power and he's got the cardio as well these days, ever since he got the nose job, okay? So the man's cooking with gas. He's firing on all cylinders and he can't wait to go head-to-head with Khamzat Chimaev.
He can wrestle. He's got very good jiu-jitsu. He hits hard, and he's a big, durable dude. But I don't know if he's going to be able to wrestle with that guy.
UFC 319 is approaching fast, and Dricus Du Plessis has sent a serious message to Khamzat Chimaev, stating he will destroy his hopes of winning the UFC title. Du Plessis is focused on getting his belt back, and he is not stepping back. From the challenge on the other side, Chimaev is fully concentrated on his first title opportunity and is putting in all the work needed to succeed. Du Plessis has acknowledged the power Chimaev holds, but insists that Chimaev has never dealt with. The kind of strength he brings into the octagon, he says Chimaev is like a firearm, but he sees himself as a tank, slower, tougher, and made for war. Du Plessis believes no middleweight can compete with his physical strength, and he is confident that once the second round begins, he will take full control of the match.
The Khamzat fight's what I want. I want to take his, it's not even a doubt in my mind. Khamzat is a strong guy, but I know for a fact that he's never felt power like this. In this case, he has a gun and I have a tank when it comes to the strength. There's not a middleweight that's going to power me. It's not going to happen. Once it goes past round 2, it's going to be smooth sailing.
Dricus Du Plessis' teammate Mark Hume also gave a warning to anyone doubting him. He mentioned that Du Plessis is on a strong winning streak and said many people would be surprised by what he can deliver inside the cage. Hume pointed out that Du Plessis has never been defeated in the UFC and has often won fights as the underdog. He suggested that those who ignore him this time might regret their decision, and even joked that he would be laughing if people kept placing their bets on Chimaev instead.
Let me tell you, that man is on a roll, bro. When he says you're going to be surprised, I believe you're going to be surprised.
What do you think of sort of the narratives of people maybe overlooking Dricus a little bit in this fight just because of what Chimaev's done?
Yeah, to that I would say be careful what you think, in the sense of, I mean, Dricus has not lost in the UFC once, right? He's not lost once. Every single time he's been the underdog. You know how much money people have made on Dricus Du Plessis. So, I mean, if people want to be stupid and put their money on a Chechen war, then do it. I'm going to laugh at you afterwards.
Joe Rogan also describes Dricus Du Plessis as seriously scary and mentions that his size and conditioning give him major advantages. He talks about Du Plessis' unpredictable stutter step movement, saying it is difficult to figure out, and has unexpected technical skill. Rogan thinks that awkward style gives DDP a real advantage inside the octagon.
Yeah. Dricus is fucking scary. That's a guy who's so big for 85.
The way he looked against, I counted. I didn't give him a chance against Robert Whittaker, and boy was I wrong.
After he got a DV, which I think, it's a big factor.
Yeah,
being able to breathe out your nose.
If you can't breathe, you can't fight.
Yeah. Like, but it's also, Dricus looks awkward when he fight. He moves different, but that movement and that awkwardness makes him difficult to time. It's like his timing is off. And if you don't have anybody that can imitate that kind of stutter step motion that he does, it's deceptively technical. Deceptively.
It's his style.
That motherfucker's very good.
In another interview, Dricus Du Plessis gives Chimaev respect for his abilities, but mentions that besides Robert Whittaker, Chimaev has not really gone up against elite-level fighters. He makes it clear that their matchup will not just be about grappling, because he plans to use a full combination of wrestling, striking, and complete MMA. Du Plessis also highlights that Chimaev never earned a title shot at welterweight, so stepping into a big fight at middleweight will be a completely different test for him.
Khamzat is an incredible fighter. Nobody has been able to beat him, but he hasn't fought anybody of note other than Robert Whittaker. That is it. This is not a grappling competition. I am not the best grappler or wrestler or striker. When we mix it all up, I am. That's why I have this. He couldn't even get a title at welterweight. Now he wants to come to middleweight. Great.
At the same time, Jon Anik called this fight the biggest possible matchup in MMA, saying it is finally the moment for Chimaev to fight for a title. He described the fight as total chaos and said the UFC could not have picked a better. Anik sounded very excited, calling the clash perfect from a matchmaking angle. He hinted that fans would see something unforgettable when the cage shuts in Chicago. This August, Jon Anik said, "This is the best fight available. Khamzat Chimaev Finally entering a title shot, it is the top fight in the sport. Complete madness. I am trying not to curse here. I cannot think of a better matchup when they shut that door behind them. It is flawless matchmaking. See you all mid-August in Chicago. On the flip side, Reinier de Ridder said that preparing for someone like Chimaev would actually be easier than getting ready for Du Plessis. He explained that Chimaev has a more traditional style, so it is not hard to find training partners who can copy it, but he felt Du Plessis is more unpredictable and harder to prepare for. Even so, Ridder admitted that if Du Plessis wins, he could become the bigger superstar.
He would be like an easier guy to prepare for. Not that he is an easier fight, but he is more of a typical style. I can bring a couple of Dagestanis and a couple Chechens in who wrestle pretty similar to Khamzat. He boxes pretty cleanly, boxing style. So yeah, it's not that spectacular. It's spectacular, but it's not that special in a sense that it's not as weird as Dricus is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be harder to prepare for him, but he might, if he wins, he might be the bigger name. But in my mind, I'm fighting both those guys in the next 6 to 9 months anyway.
Meanwhile, Din Thomas surprised everyone by saying that if Khamzat Chimaev becomes champion, it could be a major problem for the division. He raised doubts about whether Chimaev would stay active, even if he wins the belt, Thomas said. Fans in the UFC need champions who compete regularly, and he was not confident that Chimaev could provide that. In his opinion, it would damage the sport if the title gets stuck again. Din Thomas said if Khamzat wins, it is a disaster, and even if he shows up and actually wins, can we really trust him to fight again? Can he do it twice or 3 times? We need movement champions. Have to fight. Otherwise, it is bad for the sport. Michael Bisping agreed with Din Thomas's concerns about Chimaev taking the title, saying that champions must stay active. He talked about how fighters like Adesanya and Silva built their legacies by defending their titles often. Bisping said Chimaev has a similar mindset and is ready to face anyone, but he admitted that beating Du Plessis would be a tough task.
Would it be a disaster if Khamzat Chimaev wins? That's what Din Thomas said. I kind of get his point, because we do want to have a busy champion, okay? You got to fight. You can't sit on the sidelines. You can't become the champion and say, right, I'm going to avoid fighting people now. No, you got to defend it, because when you defend it, that's when you make money. That's how you build your brand. That's how you get the endorsement deals, okay? Look at Israel Adesanya. When that man was the champion, he was defending the belt at a crazy pace, okay? That's why you got to have respect for champions like Israel Adesanya and Anderson Silva back in the day, because they were ready to take on absolutely anybody. Khamzat Chimaev, I think he's ready to take on everybody. He wants to kill everybody. Kill everybody! That's what he said right from day one. And I think if he can beat Dricus, and that's a big if. It's a very big if, okay?
However, in another interview, Din Thomas said that Dricus Du Plessis has the tools needed to defeat Khamzat Chimaev. He compared Chimaev to a sprinter, someone who is dangerous in the early stages, but still untested in a full 5-round battle. Thomas believes Du Plessis is the tougher and more intelligent fighter who can handle the early pressure and slowly take control as the fight continues.
You think Dricus beats Khamzat?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
I do. I really do. I think Khamzat is a sprinter. I think if you were to make fights 1 5-minute round, Khamzat beats anybody in the world, any weight class. But you can't fight championship level fights for 5 rounds at the pace where he's at his best. If he fights like that at his best, I think Dricus is so durable and he's so smart that he'll be able to withstand that. Now they're swimming in deep water, and Khamzat can't swim that deep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Din Thomas also believed that the later rounds would work in favor of Dricus Du Plessis. He thought Khamzat Chimaev might face problems once he realizes Du Plessis will not give up, even if Chimaev tries to slow the pace. Du Plessis will continue to push forward. Thomas explains that true cardio comes from smart pacing, something Du Plessis does well due to his more well-rounded skill set.
So what do you think? It just goes into the championship rounds and he figures them out?
Yeah. I think that by the 3rd round, Khamzat's like, all right, I don't really know. I can't, this guy's not going away. Wow. And also too, is if Khamzat does, let's say he does pace himself a little better, Dricus will just pour it on him.
Right.
So I think that pacing is a big factor. We always talk about this cardio thing, but cardio is really just being able to manage whatever pace you have based on the skill set you have. That's really what it comes down to. Like if you have a very limited skill set and you're forced to be in situations that you're not comfortable in, you're going to have bad cardio. But when you have a very well-rounded skill set and you can pace yourself better, you have good cardio. So, I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Meanwhile, Michael Bisping says Dricus Du Plessis is a big, strong fighter who is not easy to take down. He believes the smartest way to fight. Khamzat Chimaev is to go at him. Hidden Bisping points out that Chimaev will probably try to grab you and get a takedown, but Du Plessis has to make him earn it. He says the best defense is to attack and force Chimaev to stay on the back foot.
Dricus is a big dude. He's not going to be easy to take down. Dricus is going to play him at his own game, and that's exactly what he's got to do. You can't run away from Khamzat Chimaev, okay? The man's going to get you. He's going to get a hold of you, and he's going to try and take you down, and he's probably going to be successful. So what do? Now, what you're going to do is you're going to meet him head on. You're going to fight him at his own game, and that's exactly what Dricus Du Plessis said that he's going to do. He will get a hold of you, and he probably will take you down. So meet him head on. Make him work for it. The best form of defense is attack. Put Khamzat Chimaev on the back foot.
Michael Bisping also warned that if Khamzat Chimaev expects an easy takedown and submission, he might be surprised, he highlights. Du Plessis' strong grappling, recalling a time when he submitted a whole team of black belts, while Bisping praises Chimaev's dominant win over Whitaker in his jump to middleweight. He thinks Du Plessis' size, his growing skills, and steady improvement make him a serious threat.
Khamzat Chimaev thinks that he's going to go out there and just take down Dricus Du Plessis and just choke him out, right? Like he's some schmuck, like he doesn't know what he's doing, like he's not someone that choked out an entire black belt jiu-jitsu team one after the other. Then I think Khamzat Chimaev will be in for a rude awakening. Now, of course, since Khamzat Chimaev moved up to 185 pounds, he's looked phenomenal, okay? The way that he destroyed Robert Whitaker, that was so impressive.
However, Luke Rockhold believes Khamzat Chimaev has strong wrestling, relentless pressure, and solid ground skills, but he notes that Chimaev tends to tire in longer fights, as shown in his bouts with Usman and Burns. Rockhold has trained a lot with Du Plessis and says he is hard to wear down, in Rockhold's opinion, if Chimaev does not finish the fight early. It could become tough for him as the match continues.
Khamzat Chimaev, the Wolf, he is there training. You've grappled with him. He's got a big fight against DDP, Dricus Du Plessis, someone you've had a lot of rounds with. After feeling both those men, how does that fight play out?
Khamzat is very good at wrestling. He's very good on the ground. He's very good at pressure. The longevity of the fight, it hasn't been his best approach. So you see with Usman, you see with Gilbert. Tough test. I've put a lot of rounds in with DDP, and he don't go away. So unless he gets to him early, it's gonna be tough late.
Luke Rockhold says if Khamzat Chimaev cannot finish the fight early, it begins to favor Dricus Du Plessis. He explains that DDP knows how to get through difficult moments and keep moving forward. That ability to endure and stay active in the fight, Rockhold says, is what makes him a champion and why he is currently at the top.
If he doesn't put him away early, it's a DDP type of fight.
I think that's the way the DDP goes. You know, he manages to get through, weathers the storms, and he keeps going. That's what champions do, and that's why DDP's on top.
Furthermore, Michael Page said it was hard to predict the fight he would normally choose. Khamzat Chimaev to win, but admitted that Dricus Du Plessis kept surprising everyone. He did not understand how DDP kept managing to succeed, but noted there was clearly something special about him. Each time Page bet against Du Plessis, he was proven wrong.
DDP and Khamzat, who do you reckon is going to win? It's just hard to say. I would normally say Khamzat would win this fight. At DDP, I don't get how he keeps winning. Obviously, there's something about him because he keeps winning. Even that is an art, knowing how to win. Every time I put my money against him, he always comes up.
Tito Ortiz believed fans would watch to see how dangerous Khamzat Chimaev really is. He showed respect for Chimaev, calling him a monster, but thought Dricus Du Plessis might surprise him. Ortiz said Chimaev could face a wake-up call, especially if his wrestling does not hold up. He reflected on how disappointed he was when Bone Nickel was outclassed in his last fight. Ortiz noted that Russian fighters often combine wrestling and striking perfectly, using one to set up the other, before taking down opponents and finishing them.
How do you predict that fight plays out? People are going to see how vicious Chimaev truly is. I respect the guy. He's a monster. Du Plessis, the champ, I think he's in him for a rude awakening because he's going to realize that his wrestling is not as good as Chimaev's truly is. And it was heartbreaking for me in that middleweight division because when Bo Nichols got picked apart his last fight, I was like, man, why didn't you wrestle? You're one of the best guys in the world in wrestling. Use your wrestling. And that's what all the Russians do. They use their wrestling to set up punches. They use their punches to set up the wrestling. And then they take people down and they choke them because they're really good at it.
Tito Ortiz predicted the fight would not last the full distance expecting Khamzat Chimaev to wear down his opponent within 3 or 4 rounds, he said. Chimaev's pressure was just too much. Ortiz mentioned he had been watching Chimaev closely and was impressed by his toughness. He also heard from Rampage Jackson, who trained with Chimaev in California, and confirmed that Chimaev was the real deal. Ortiz was especially impressed by how explosive Chimaev is, saying he can shoot for a takedown from across the cage and still get it.
I think Chimaev, I would give it maybe 4 rounds, 3 to 4 rounds, 3 to 4 rounds. I think Chimaev just overwhelms him too much. I think that's my opinion. Once again, I watch him. I watch Chimaev. I just see how tough he is, and I know he had training camp actually at Jackson clothing company or Jackson in California, correct? And was it
with Bear and Rampage is also there?
Yep. And so I know he's doing really well. I talked to Rampage. Rampage goes, "No, he's the real deal, Tito." I go, "I see him. Like I watch his fights and how vicious. I mean, he can shoot a double leg from half the cage and still take a guy down. He's just very vicious."
Robert Whitaker believes that if Khamzat Chimaev gets Dricus Du Plessis to the ground and finishes him early, he has a good chance to win. However, he warns that if Chimaev does not end it in the first round, which is usually his best chance, Du Plessis could take control. Whitaker describes DDP as the kind of fighter who becomes a real challenge if you do not finish him quickly.
DDP and Khamzat, who do you think wins that fight?
Honestly, Chimaev is going to get him to the ground. If he doesn't finish him there, I don't think he wins. I think if you can't get Dricus out in the first, which Chimaev can do, his first round finishes is his thing. But if he doesn't get him out of there, I think Dricus, he's a guy that if you don't get rid of, kind of wins.
Coach Eric Nixon also praises Dricus Du Plessis for being respectful and well coached. He points out DDP is steady progress and believes his rhythm inside the cage is hard to read. Nixon sees a clear method behind his movement and says that stopping this flow is key to beating him.
So curious to how Khamzat and DDP plays out. I feel like DDP's going to be able to weather the storm the first 2 rounds and then start taking off the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. What do you think?
I do too. I've studied DDP a bunch. Super respectful, nice guy. He's very well coached. Just his overall development, he's jumped leaps and bounds in between that Brad fight to now being world champion. People think it looks erratic, but it's not. It's very calculated what he's trying to do. It's a lot of those same reps that he does, but there's a motion to him that's kind of hard to gather rhythm. How do you eliminate all that shit? Take a guy down. Put him on his fucking back.
Meanwhile, Bo Nickal recognizes Khamzat Chimaev's dominance, but wonders how he deals with the later rounds. Something Dricus Du Plessis has already shown he can handle, he thinks. If the fight reaches the 4th or 5th round, Du Plessis might have the advantage. Still, Nickal favors Khamzat, saying his grappling and wrestling edge could make the difference.
We still have yet to see Khamzat ever fight a 4th and a 5th round. We've seen that from DDP, and so that's where he would have the advantage. If it goes deep, 4th and 5th round, I think that DDP might be able to pull it out. But all in all, I think the grappling style is definitely an overwhelming style to try to deal with.
So what do you think about this exciting matchup? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video.